So before we start, I reference something called the Google Keyword Tool quite a lot. Does anyone here know what the Google Keyword Tool is? Anyone, hands up if anyone knows what it is? Okie doke, so not very many people. So what I'm going to explain about the Google Keyword Tool is if you're online, this is literally going to be your best friend. And the reason being is Google is begging you to do business with them, is what it comes down to. And what I'll show you is, as I go around here, you put a search term right up here in the top part, or you put a website in here. I'll get to the website in a second here. And you hit search, it brings back all the stuff that's related to that search. It also will tell you competition, that's more for when you're putting ads out, but it tells you globally how many times this shows up, and then also local. Local is Canada or whatever country you actually choose. The way I use this is I set it up specifically so it'll just display the global results and the Canadian results, and then I take kind of approximately, because I play mostly in Calgary, about 3 to 3.5% of the local number that's at the very end here. And that will give me kind of roughly how many times it's being searched in Calgary. So that gives you an idea of what kind of traffic goes through. Now, why is this important? I think it's important from the standpoint of you may be trying to get found online for one thing, or you may think that you're trying to get found online for one thing, and you realize that only 10 people in Canada search for that. There might be another term that you can get found on that doesn't have a lot of competition that 10,000 people search for. So this gives you a bit of a path to understand, am I doing something smart, or am I doing something not the best way possible to get found online? So that's extremely important to use this tool. The other thing that I find neat with this is not only is it interesting as it tells you what it is, you can also find out what Google thinks your website's about or what your competitors' websites are about. So this is interesting. So what you do is when you go to this, and you got the link down here, we'll send it to you guys. You put a website address in there. So you can put your website address in there and you hit search. And it'll come back and it'll tell you, here's everything that Google thinks your website is about. And what happens is, it's telling you that not only are we thinking this is what your website about, I mean, it literally is an eye-opener for a lot of people, because they'll look at it and go, that is nothing about my website, or why does it think that that's what I'm about? So that's where you have to start getting professionals involved to help you out, trying to figure out how to change what Google thinks about your website, or how you actually search engine optimize or SEO your website a little bit better. Now the other thing too is go and find your competitor, or else type what you do into Google and see who comes up in the top 2 or 3, and then put their web address in there, and then hit click, and then it'll bring back and tell you exactly what Google thinks their website's about. And you can also figure out exactly how many searches they're potentially getting through Google as well. So it's an extremely valuable tool, especially when you're trying to put blog posts together. And I'll get to this in a second. This will give you a lot of ideas as to how to create topics for blog posts where you get found online. So we'll go into that in a couple of minutes here. One of the other things too is I always say use the long tails. Anyone know what long tail is? Yep. Couple. So long tail, the short tail and long tail. It's a term created by a gentleman called Chris Anderson, who is he's the editor of Wired magazine. So imagine a graph. I got to look your guys' way. So it goes like this. Single words are kind of what they call the head. As you get into 2, 3, 4 words in a phrase, that moves you down to what they call the long tail, which is the latter part down here. Up here, you get a lot of searches. If you put in television online, you'll end up with a lot of results, a lot of searches. If you put in a great Calgary television show, it'll show up way down here with not as many search results going against it. The interesting thing though is, you know what, the web's been around for quite a while, let's say 20 years. You're not going to get found on this big part. No matter how much you'd like to get found on the term television or single or 2 words, you're not going to get found. What you really need to focus on is getting found on what they call the long tail, which is 3, 4, 5 words long. And that's where most of the traffic is starting to happen now, and that's where you can be most competitive. And I'm also going to give you a couple of strategies to show you how to be like very competitive and get a higher increase or a higher chance of getting on that first page of Google. Through some of the different strategies that we actually use.